urges from Israel and its enemies Hamas and Hezbollah to keep fighting in Gaza and Lebanon dashed hopes of an imminent end to war on Friday, prompted by Israel's killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
Sinwar's death also provides an extraordinary opportunity to achieve a lasting ceasefire.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was among Western politicians who said Sinwar's death offered a chance for negotiations. That contrasted with the rhetoric from the warring parties, as Israel's military said on Friday it had sent another army unit into Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps.
Well, this is not the end of the war in Gaza.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to keep up the war until hostages held by Hamas in Gaza were released. Hamas said the hostages would only be released with a halt of hostilities there, an Israeli withdrawal, and the release of its prisoners. While Iran, Israel's arch-foe and both militant groups' main backer, said Sinwar's death would only fuel the spirit of resistance. Hezbollah, too, announced the transition to a new and escalating phase in the confrontation with Israel. Sinwar, a mastermind of the October 7, 2023 attack that triggered the Gaza war, was killed on Wednesday in a gun battle by Israeli soldiers in Gaza. They were initially unaware they'd caught Israel's most wanted, officials said. In Gaza, the mood was one of despair. Ismail al-Athamneh is a displaced Palestinian.
The news of the martyrdom of the leader Yahya Sinwar was a heavy blow to the Palestinian people. Netanyahu will not stop. We know that. All the Palestinian people are targeted, not just Sinwar, because every day there are massacres.
In the southern Israeli town of Sderot, which was attacked by Hamas militants on October 7th, Sinwar's death stirred hope, despite Netanyahu's statements.
I think that for Israel it's an opportunity to give a good offer to solve this problem and finish this war that takes more than a year and a lot of soldier life and everything.
Families of Israeli hostages called the killing of Sinwar an achievement, but one that would be incomplete while captives are still in Gaza.
With the U.S. presidential election just over 2 weeks away, Democrat Kamala Harris and her Republican rival Donald Trump spent the weekend trying to court early voters and shore up support in some of the most competitive states. Harris marked her 60th birthday on Sunday while campaigning in Georgia, outside of Atlanta. She spent the day visiting 2 churches, including a Baptist church in the city of Stonecrest. In remarks there, Harris delivered a message of unity, drawing a contrast between her vision for America and the divisive rhetoric of the current political climate, though she did not mention Trump by name.
And what kind of country do we want to live in? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, compassion, and justice?
Meanwhile, Trump on Sunday was at a McDonald's in suburban Philadelphia.
My first day at McDonald's, I'm looking for a job.
The former president cooked batches of French fries and handed out orders to supporters through the drive-thru window.
Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala. Okay, she never worked here.
Trump has said the McDonald's visit was intended in part as a jab at Harris, who says she worked at the fast food chain during her college years. Trump claims Harris never worked there, but he has provided no evidence to back that up. A Harris spokesperson said the stunt was a sign of Trump's desperation. When asked if he would accept the results of the 2024 election, Trump had this to say.
Yeah, sure, if it's a fair election, always. I would always accept it if it's got to be a fair election.
After a rally in Lancaster, Trump made his last Sunday Pennsylvania stop at a Pittsburgh Steelers game, where he pumped his fist to cheers from the crowd. Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro said Sunday on NBC's Meet the Press that the race in his state is tight. Georgia and Pennsylvania are 2 of the most competitive states in the country, with the latter standing out as the biggest prize on Election Day.
Billionaire Elon Musk promised to give away $1 million each day until November's election to someone who signs his online petition pledging support for the First and Second Amendments. The first check went to an attendee at Musk's America PAC event in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on Saturday, aimed at rallying supporters behind Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. The winner was a man named John Dreher, according to event staff. The First Amendment protects free speech, and the Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. The money is the latest example of the Tesla and SpaceX CEO using his extraordinary wealth to influence the tightly contested presidential race between Trump and his Democratic rival, Vice President Kamala Harris. But questions about the legality of Musk's cash payments abounded over the weekend, as election law experts pointed to various provisions in federal law that prohibited making cash payments to voters. It is a federal crime to pay people with the intention of inducing or rewarding them to cast a vote or to get registered, an offense punishable by prison time. Attendees of Saturday's event had to sign the petition, which allows America PAC to garner contact details for more potential voters that it can work to get to the polls for Trump. Musk, ranked by Forbes as the world's richest person, so far has supplied at least $75 million to America PAC, according to federal disclosures, making the group a crucial part of Trump's bid to regain the White House.
A Rome court on Friday rejected orders to detain a group of migrants in a reception facility in Albania, saying they had a right to be brought to Italy. It deals a blow to Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's plan to divert asylum seekers abroad. This week, a total of 16 migrants were rescued in the Mediterranean and taken to Albania by an Italian Navy ship. They became the first group of people to be housed in the new facility of Jada after being processed in the Shunjin port. 4 of them have already been brought to Italy for health reasons or because they were recognised as minors. Arturo Salerni, a lawyer involved in the case, said the court's decision applied to all 12 remaining migrants. Only migrants coming from a list of 22 nations Italy has classified as safe are permitted to be sent to Albania. But in a recent case, the European Court of Justice said a country outside the European Union cannot be declared safe unless its entire territory is deemed free of danger. That limited the definition of what can be described as a safe country outside the EU. Referring to the case, the Rome Court president said it was impossible to recognise the states of origin of detained persons as safe countries. The decision provoked the ire of Meloni's Brothers of Italy party. Some politicised magistrates have decided that there are no safe countries of origin, the party wrote on its profile on X. They would like to abolish Italy's borders. We will not allow it, the party said. Charity group Sea-Watch applauded the court decision, saying the media show organised by the Meloni government had clashed with national and international law.
It was billionaire versus billionaire in the battleground states, with Tesla CEO Elon Musk stumping for Republican candidate Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, and Shark Tank star Mark Cuban joining Democratic candidate Kamala Harris in Wisconsin.
Would y'all mind if I, pick on Donald Trump a little bit?
Cuban on Thursday criticized Trump's proposal to issue fresh tariffs, calling it a crazy notion that would hurt American consumers. Meanwhile, Musk held his Philadelphia suburb event without Trump and said the election would decide, quote, the fate of Western civilization.
The reason I'm here in person is because Pennsylvania is so important to the future of the world.
Musk, in the span of 3 months, has given around $75 million to his pro-Trump spending group, underscoring how he has become crucial to the former president's efforts to win the November 5th election. Cuban, unlike Musk, is not a political donor. The entrepreneur is especially appealing to young men, who have become a key demographic in a race where the gender gap has widened as males overall have shifted to Trump. Next week, Vice President Harris will campaign for the first time with Barack and Michelle Obama in separate events, hoping to inject some political star power in the final dash to Election Day, according to a senior campaign official. The former president and his wife remain immensely popular with the Democratic base and are expected to be effective closers in the final stretch of a campaign, relying on turnout from loyal Democrats in states where victory margins are thin.
People bang pots and pans in the Cuban capital of Havana on Saturday night. Elsewhere, another small protest over a deepening power crisis. People block a street with trash. Cuba's electrical grid collapsed again on Sunday, leaving millions of people without electricity. It marked the 4th such failure in 48 hours. People mulled over what to do as they lined up for bread.
Mal, muy mal, porque sin corriente no tenemos nada. It's bad, very bad, because without electricity, we have nothing, this woman said. The communist-run government canceled school through Wednesday, a near unprecedented move for Cuba. It pointed to both the energy crisis and Hurricane Oscar, which bore down on the island on Sunday and could make the situation even more complicated. In her old Havana home, Annabelle Gonzalez says she's been without power for 3 days, and her food supply is dwindling. My cell phone is dead, and look at my refrigerator. The little that I had is all gone to waste, she said. Energy and Mines Minister Vicente de la Oleve told reporters that he expected the grid to be fully functional by Monday or Tuesday, but warned residents not to expect dramatic improvements. The government has blamed weeks of worsening blackouts on deteriorating infrastructure, fuel shortages, and rising demand, as well as the U.S. trade embargo and sanctions, which it says hamper efforts to get fuel and parts to run the plants. The U.S. denies a role. The island does not produce much crude oil, and foreign countries have cut exports.
An end to the more than month-long strike at Boeing could be days away. Striking machinists will vote on Wednesday on a new contract deal that includes a 35% pay hike over 4 years. That's according to the company and union. About 33,000 West Coast workers have been on strike since mid-September. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Local 751 said on social media it had received a proposal from Boeing that is worthy of consideration by its members, with help from acting U.S. Secretary of Labor Julie Su. A spokesperson said she has been in Seattle in recent days meeting with both sides. The union had been seeking a 40% pay hike and restoration of a defined benefit pension. The union said the plane maker's latest offer includes a $7,000 ratification bonus, reinstated incentive plan, and enhanced contributions to workers' 401k retirement plans. Boeing said it looks forward to its employees voting on the proposal. But there is no guarantee workers will approve it. In September, nearly 95% of the striking machinists rejected Boeing's contract offer of a 25% pay rise over 4 years that had been endorsed by union officials, prompting the strike. The work stoppage has halted production of Boeing's best-selling 737 MAX and its 767 and 777 wide-bodies. Boeing recently announced it would cut 17,000 jobs, or 10% of its global staff, and take $5 billion in charges, continuing a tumultuous year for the company that began in January when a door panel flew off an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 jet in midair. To help shore up its finances, Boeing also recently announced a window for up to $25 billion in stock and debt offerings over the next 3 years, as well as a $10 billion credit agreement.